camera said pling, that must mean that it is working. Hi there guys, I'm Bo Lorentzen, and I know you have probably looked at some of my other modifying cameras videos, and today we are gonna modify a Pyxis 12K, and because it is not available with a Canon RF lens mount. However, today we're gonna put a Canon RF lens mount on a Pyxis 12K. Before I get started with that, let me give you a quick backgrounder here. I have been shooting with this since it came out. This is the Canon R5C and the 5.2mm dual fisheye lens for 180 VR. Of course, intended to use in your Quest or your Vision Pro headset as immersive or 180 VR video. Now, if you start doing the math on the 4,000 pixel sphere becoming a rectangle of 8,000 by 4,000, we're actually scaling a lot of the edge pixels up. So you could argue that some of the pixels are 1.5 times their own size and not as sharp as you would want them to be. And that is a pretty well-known problem with the Canon 5C, that it is maybe a teeny bit soft, and I and many others polish it and increase the resolution and sharpen it carefully before using the final file. Now, earlier this year, before NAB, I found a couple of lenses that was aftermarket and not GoPro lenses, and that gave me a sphere that cropped off the edges, so I got about 5,200 pixel diameter, and that I was able to render to 10K with significantly or better resolution of a resolution target than what I was able to get from the Canon. And that was with 2 GoPros, so it is absolutely possible. Now, the advantage of the Canon is you are shooting to one sensor, this big monster right here, right into this sensor. Let's go click, click. There you go. So you're shooting to that sensor, and because both spheres gets on the same sensor, you don't have to sync the frames. You also don't have the color mismatch from the 2 different cameras. It's much easier to deal with in post. So let's get on to the real stuff. Move the Canon, and here we go. And that is a Pyxis 12K. I ordered that in June, right after, or a little bit after NAB, because I had decided it must be possible since it's a 24 by 36 millimeter sensor right here. So let's try to shoot it with the Canon lens. So we ordered this, and Karen got this in my hands this week, and let's take a look. And I've got to be perfectly honest, I have opened this box earlier today, and surprisingly there's not a whole bunch of plastic everywhere like if you buy an Apple product. So at the top we just have a little flyer, and then we have a external hard drive mount or external SSD mount that goes on the right hand side. So we're not going to do any of that. So we're basically not going to unbox this camera because, well, we're unboxing it. Come on, what are we talking about? Here is the camera. That is all we wanted to do today. Let's get rid of the box. There is a bunch of really good videos all over YouTube unboxing this camera. If you want to know what is in here, the size and the color of the packaging, check one of those out. Here is the camera, and I realized to make this a little easier, we are going to mount the tripod plate right here. I think that's the right way. Yeah, it is. And you don't know this, but I just cut out the bit where I mounted it on the top, and then I installed it upside down, and I was like, something's not right here. You guys would realize what an idiot and a poser I am. So here, one of the first things probably, in order to use this, it needs, so you have a $5,500, about $6,000 camera body, but before you're ready to work, You need to stick a memory card in it right here. I have some memory cards, or rather CF cards. CF Express, I guess they're called. Let's grab one of these. So I believe that goes in here. So that pops right in here in the back, and you can close that down or not. That's entirely up to you. Now, you can throw all kinds of batteries on this, but of course this type, and you can get them bigger and even bigger. Here's the thing, the bigger it gets, the more you have to carry. And for my purpose, and my friend Xiang just confirmed he has his camera with almost the same modification, and we're going to talk about that. He did the modification differently, but let me get mine installed before I discuss why his may be better for some people or worse for some people, depending what you plan to do with this camera. Anyway, we're going to throw a smaller battery on here because, like Gian, I intend to throw this on a Ronin gimbal, and we want to fly it pretty lightly, and with 180 VR, I don't really need the big screen either. What I do need is a directional stereo microphone that can go up here, and I need my 180 lens. So let's do like this, and I think you can see, and if you can't, you will probably sound off and yell at me somewhere in the comments. Oh, and before I do any of this, I have been informed repeatedly today, releasing these 4 screws voids the warranty. You are no longer able to do warranty work on this. So whatever you do, do not do what I'm doing right now. Taking out these 4. And before we do this, I mean, come on, let's just look at this. There. Here is our 12K 4 color sight sensor, and it is 24 by 36, so it's exactly like full frame, which is of course what attracted me to this. Now when we get this out, we're gonna want to be a little careful because there is a ribbon cable connected, because this is an L mount. And I actually tested it earlier today using one of these, you know, these things here. You can kind of twist it and it unlocks. So it's a lens cap, 30 millimeter. So that actually works as a lens cap on the L mount. But if I wanted to shoot with a 30 millimeter, I have a perfectly good camera here that I can shoot with a 35 millimeter 1.4 from Canon. So why? I don't actually, the only thing I want this camera for is my purpose. So now we're going to take this out. And that's, okay, there. And yes, black magic. I know I just violated my warranty. So we're turning this upside down into my hand, and we have 4 screws. They go here. And there is the backside. You can see this has been milled. And this is the ribbon cable that puts the electronics into the camera right here. So there. We're done with this. Now, so the original design, I was just trying to come up with something that would drop in, and that work was not that hard. But then it got a little more hard because we needed to be able to mount the lens and have a quick release over here. So, and if you look really careful at this, you'll see there's a huge hole. And that is because when I started putting this on to test it earlier today, I realized that the registration pins, this one and this one, well, I had flipped them upside down. So basically this had to be mounted upside down. This is where the engineering tool called Dremel comes in. So I punched some larger holes and everything fits just fine. There's also another thing I should mention. This camera actually came with a bunch of shims, which is a body shape in between space, and it is necessary to get it perfectly accurate. However, for this, I'm not going to put that on for now. We're just going to mount it, because this is really all you need to do to make this a 35 or a Canon RF mount. So that one goes in loosely. And by the way, these screws I installed at the factory, surprisingly solid. They are definitely, on this thing, you need a very good grip to release these. And if it doesn't catch right, it helps to back up a little to get the groove. Almost dropped it. Would be typically me. I cannot tell you how many times I've been running around trying to find a screw in the bottom of a van doing a shoot. And yeah, I don't want to tell you that. So now we're just gonna torque all of these just finger tight. There is no need for more than finger tight here. Like oomph in. It already has a little bit of blue lugger on it. And that's it. Now, here is the, and there's other reason not to do this. You cannot set the f-stop with this camera because there's no electronic mount. So what I have to do is turn on my RF camera. Then I have to set the f-stop I want, then leave the camera powered and take off the lens. I just heard a whole bunch of people scream in the energy out there. So we're gonna put a lens protector on, or a body cap it's called. And talking about things and reasons not to do that, here is the plastic that goes on the back, and in order for me to make this fit in, I'm gonna make a thinner RF, or rather hot mirror. And I have a hot mirror here. Oh, and here is the shims. That's what they look like, a whole bunch of them. So this is the hot mirror. That basically take infrared glow off the picture. You can see, and that's the one you see in here. You see that hot mirror? It is thick. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a very thick little bracket, whereas the piece of glass in here is less than 1 millimeter. This could easily be half as thick, and that would solve this problem. Blackmagic, are you listening? Tor Rolf, we need this part here half thickness. Please call it the diet hot mirror. The slimmer hot mirror. Whatever you do, don't do this at home. I think I've given you so many good reasons for, but until Blackmagic makes me a skinny, elegant, sexier hot mirror, this plastic cap has to be removed, and you end up with this opening. That's perfectly fine, because most things I play with I end up voiding warranties on. So now this is in place. We have our quick release. This goes in here. Oh yeah, did you hear that? It just clicked right in place the way we like it to. Yeah, so let's move this a little bit and fire it up. So we have, remember we put a battery and a memory card on the back side. And this should be, there you go, look at that. I'm sorry, it's not color balanced the monitor itself to match the probably tungsten in here. And the DJI Osmo is auto color, so who knows. Technology today is amazing, like utterly, incredibly amazing. And here it is. Now, to focus this, I apologize. We are going to go to here. There's a plus, and you can literally just drag in. You can find the one in the center. And as you can see, it's going off a little bit, and we come back in a little bit. I'm not even sure what I'm seeing here. because I am looking at this through the screen on the DJI Osmo. But there you have it. We have mounted an Canon RF lens on a perfectly good Pyxis camera, and nobody died. So technically speaking, with a slimmer mirror, you could mount, but this actually, the 35mm RF is a bit deeper in its far distance focusing than what this lens is. So we definitely need a skinny, slim hot mirror if you want to use other Canon lenses. But why would you do that? Because there's perfectly good Canon cameras, at least for what I do. My main purpose is right here. It is to be able to shoot 2 spheres for immersive video. And this works. It's running. The backside is, see, we have the smaller battery in here. I really wish they had a yet smaller battery, because I only want like 15 minutes of battery, maybe 10 minutes. Keep it lighter, keep it lighter. And I need to print a protector for these 2 BNC connectors. So that's about it. That was the mod for today, and I think it's very successful. Now, oh yes, so Jiang came up with a different way of doing this. We talked about this randomly after NAB, going, hey, it would be cool to mount a lens on here. Then we haven't talked for like half a year while we're waiting to get our cameras. And it turns out his solution is very different. He unscrewed and basically permanently mounted the 5.2mm dual fisheye into a 3D printed lens mount. Because like me, he is going to leave the lens on there, and he does not like that there's actually some play in, I don't know if you can see it, but an RF mount will allow you to play a little bit with the lens. And Jiang has a very good point. Making it so that this entire thing is firmly mounted means that between shoots, the 2 spheres cannot move on the sensor. So if you're just going to use that as a baby immersive camera, not the $30,000 camera, then I would say Jiang's solution is actually probably more practical, because you can lock it down and the same calibration is usable for each shot. With this, there's a little bit more movement, and of course the Canon EOS system has an app that finds them, corrects it, and it's all good. We don't have that at this time with the Pyxis. So locking it down to the lens board is probably a very good idea. Now that said, being able to do this and put the lens onto my Canon means I can change the f-stop. That is going to be a little harder with the Jiang method, where you're going to have to choose the f-stop ahead of time and stick to it. So that, somebody else, I'm going to have to say again, whatever you do, do not do this at home, because you are going to void the warranty. And I mean, you could break the camera. Remember the conversation about the Cine Immersive, the Blackmagic Cine Immersive camera, which gets us 16K. This only gets us 12K. And personally, I think I'm going to render it down to maybe 9 or 10K, because I am more interested in a high quality pixel. But how I really love it, I won't know until I try it. My feeling is I'm going to render it down to either 8.6 or 10K in order to get more pristine resolution and pixels instead of lots of pixels. and also because it is easier to work with on my old MacBook Pro. And we all know in about 2 years from now, we'll be able to edit 16K on a MacBook Pro faster than render time or faster than playtime. So give it time, right? So Cine, and the reason to do this is, of course, it is lighter. This is $5,500 / $6,000 plus a $1,500 to $2,000 lens. So call it, you can basically for $30,000 you can get 4 or 5 of these instead of one immersive cine camera. And we're splitting the resolution. I don't really know how I'm gonna render 16K video, let alone where I'm gonna store it. So I plan to shoot in 12K. And if I can render it out, which I think I can, but I can save and keep the original capture files and do something else with them in a year or 2 years when I have more abilities. So this is my new 180 VR / immersive content camera for October 2025. I am sure we'll have some cooler toys long before I even learn how to use this one. Please click subscribe, click like, and go and check out my sailing in Thailand video, which was shot with these 2 cameras and has an amazing clarity that I'm really still amazed by. That's what's telling me that we can have very sharp content shot on even in an 8K file. So let's get sharper, higher quality pixels rather than just more of them. That's my thoughts for the day. Karen at Sammy's, thank you so much for helping me get my hands on this for my next project. I appreciate you guys, and click subscribe and like.